Well, hello to all of my ninjas out there. Welcome to Sensei Speaks, Life Without the Filter, where we wake up the wisdom, confront the truth, and learn the lessons that help us grow into our best selves. Let's get into it tonight. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 4, where we will discuss why we struggle to connect as Black people. For those who don't know me, my name is Paula Bell, and I am your host for the evening and the host for Sensei Speaks, Life Without the Filter. But before we jump right in and bring our guest in, I have a couple of disclaimers. First, I am not a therapist and will not offer any medical advice whatsoever because I am not trained, qualified, or able to diagnose or treat any form of mental illness or disorder. Be prepared that some topics may be triggering. So if you need to take a break or you need some space, by all means, do so. Please interact with us via chat or comments. If you have any questions, post them in the chat, as we may be able to answer them for you live. And also subscribe to the Life Coach Sensei YouTube channel. You can also find the show Sensei Speaks, Life Without the Filter on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now let's jump right in it. This evening, I am joined by an esteemed panel where we're going to have some real, authentic conversation. And I'm about to introduce them to you one by one right now. First up, Miss Jasmine Brooks. Second up, Mr. Fig Newton. Third up, JT. And finally, Patricia Barbie. Welcome,
Hi.
y'all. How y'all doing?
I'm
Doing
good.
How you doing?
Hey, good evening.
I'm excited about this, y'all. Y'all excited?
I am.
Yeah, I'm excited
Yes.
about this conversation. I'm excited about this conversation. But before we jump into the conversation, why don't we let our viewers know just a little bit about each of you, what you do, why this particular topic is so important to you. And let me start with the ladies first. I'm going to start with Miss Jasmine Brooks. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why this topic is of interest to you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Jasmine Brooks. I am born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Home is Las Vegas, Nevada, and I've called Iowa home for almost 10 years. So excited for that. I'm the executive director and founder of Wild Olive Birth Company. And really the role of my work is around perinatal health for the state of Iowa. Day to day, I serve as the director for healthy incentives at Iowa Healthiest State Initiative, where I support making sure that there's access to fresh fruits and vegetables for SNAP beneficiaries. So we have about 79 counties we serve, over 170 locations across the state, working with farmers, working with SNAP beneficiaries. It's really awesome. This topic is close to my heart. Paula and I talk a lot about things, and I share a lot about the roots of my Blackness. I think she sees a lot of the fun times I have with my Black friends. Being in a Black marriage. So I just really appreciate having dialogue about the why, and just making sure people kind of understand that we don't have to be in this competitive, really unnatural way of being with each other, that we can really be a support and really get us back to the community, or maybe a new community that we need to form to support each other. So excited to be here.
I love that. I love that. Well, go ahead, Patricia. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Chicago born and raised like Jasmine. This is my second time living in Iowa. I left. Something told me that I had to come back here. I don't know what it was, but ever since I came back, it's been awesome. I've met people who are supportive, people who break stereotypes. That's kind of the reason why I couldn't wait to be on this episode, because I've met Black women and Black men who made me feel at home. I know that people see certain things, they hear certain things. So I'm here for the perspective of that and to see what I can add into it. But I am the executive director and the founder of Project Bridging. We are a nonprofit organization that wants to change the narrative for under-resourced youth females. We're on the ground floor right now, so we're a grassroots nonprofit. But my goal is to turn my girls into the girls that are that girl. I want them to find out who they are, what they can do before they're someone's mother, significant other, or anything else. I want them to be able to say, I did that. Not someone told me about it, but I did it. And my goal, my ultimate goal, is to have them be that person.
I love that. I love that. I can resonate with that all the way, all the way. How about you, Fig? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, how y'all doing? My name is Jensen Newton, endearingly called Fig. A follower of Christ. I'm a founder of a micro high school here in Des Moines called Impigo Academy, where we focus on entrepreneurship, personalized pathways for students in the cosmopolitan community, from the diaspora, from the Asian community, African American, rural places, to help integrate them into what it's like for a life after high school, what the career pathways that is unexpected, things that they may have not even heard about or thought that even exist in the nonprofit world, things like financial literacy, like mortgages and FICO scores, and how to truly be successful in the day-to-day conversations that we have, as well as infusing our faith component, helping them understand the truth of biblical context, and how to live in a life of integrity and with purpose. I'm a serial entrepreneur, get my hands in a whole lot of different things, love sports, those kind of things. I'm originally from the Bahamas, so I am a country transplant, but lived in Kansas City for most of my life, been in Des Moines for about 15 years, married, 4 kids. And what excites me or what interests me about this conversation is that these type of conversations I don't think happens enough. I think they happen at certain dinner tables and certain silos, but like what is the gap of information? What's the gap between the African American, the Black community, the diaspora, that is causing so much friction, turmoil, and lack of information and education? So I'm interested when Paula brought this to my attention. I was like, yeah, I'll definitely participate. I want to bring perspective, hear perspective, and go from there. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm glad to be here. Appreciate the invite.
Thank you, Fig, for being here. And last but definitely not least, my brother, Josh Terrell. Tell us a little bit about yourself, JT.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? Paula, thanks for having us on. I just want to realize the synergies that exist. So I am a Chicago native too, from the South Side. I've been in Iowa for about 18 years now, so I'm a transplant, a follower of Christ. I'm a husband and a father of 4. I too am a serial entrepreneur here in the Des Moines area, and the founder president of Black Excellence. And so this conversation too is near and dear to my heart, because our vision is that Black is represented well in the boardroom, living room, and classrooms of our radius. And so all that really means is connectivity through life, right? So to make sure that our folks have resources and relationships to the greater community. And I'm excited to talk about that today.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. And I must mention that this episode of Sensei Speaks is sponsored by Black Excellence Iowa. So thank you to Black Excellence Iowa. You actually have 3 board members on this call today of Black Excellence Iowa. So I definitely have to give a shout out there. And I'm not mad y'all from Chicago. I'm from New York. But I'm not mad you from the Bahamas and my family from Barbados. I mean, it is what it is. 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 Okay, here goes the first question I have for y'all to jump right in, and then I'm quite sure we're going to go deep. So when you hear the phrase struggle to connect, what does that mean to you personally? Because I know we have had situations, and Fig said it a little bit, on how we can be of different cultures, of different backgrounds and whatnot, but we are still the Black community. But for some reason, we struggle to connect, or we have competition over collaboration. So when you hear that phrase, struggling to connect, what does that mean to you? And I'm going to open up the floor to anyone who wants to go first.
To me, it means you need more observation skills. And by that, when I went to school for early childhood education, you couldn't jump into a scenario or something that's happening without taking a step back and seeing what's happening in the current environment. So sometimes we don't know what's happening and what we're trying to connect to. We need to sometimes sit back and observe what's happening so that we can see if this even is something we fit into. Because just because we're there don't mean that we fit into it.
I like that. What does that mean to you, Jasmine? I see you nodding your head some.
I mean, I would say echo that. My take on it is we are operating out of survival. We think about the fact that, folks raised in boroughs, the west side of Chicago or this side of Des Moines, like folks will say that this is my space and place. And then however they've made sense of their environment, they're familial to their social. So going from school to home to, the parking lot to the playground, like you're really recognizing that people are making sense of things often out of survival. That doesn't allow us inherently to question things automatically. That doesn't allow us to take a minute to pause and understand that is fight or flight in a lot of ways. So we can look at connection in so many different ways, whether it's romantic or just, platonic. Like folks are having a struggle of defining things, but they know that they feel something. They know that they had an experience. And so what's warranted is I'm gonna use this experience and put it in every place. So when I go to work, when I go to school, when I go job searching, I'm looking for those particular responses that my brain can automatically connect and say, oh, then that means they're mad at me, or that means they don't like me. How many times do we say, oh, that girl, I walked in, she had, the resting face, but she could have been thinking, oh, I'm hungry, which oftentimes people don't realize.
Yes.
I'm often like trying to figure out what I'm eating for the day. So just because I'm not smiling doesn't mean that I'm mad. Right. So I really take it as these are pattern behaviors of survival.
I like that. So what did the gentleman think when you think of struggling to connect? What do you think of?
Yeah, one of the things that come to mind for me is there's an invisible but real barrier that exists, right? And it's one that we aren't recognizing or addressing, and that there's interference that's being run in that connectivity or that connection. And so whether it's brothers to brothers or sisters to brothers or even sisters to sisters, so that there's a real barrier that exists that I think we just kind of ignore, and it hinders and hampers our ability to scale community.
Okay. All right. What you thinking, Fig? I see you looking up. You analyzing. What you thinking about? Come on, brother.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your questions, like the questions, why are we struggling to connect? I think one of the most rooted or the foundational issue, in my opinion, is fear, right? The fear of loss, the fear of acceptance, the fear of not having enough, scarcity mindset. And a lot of this, what I think is interesting about, like, like for instance, like Jasmine, I just met, and, I know Patty, kind of in passing, we've met every now and again, and JT, I know. But one thing that we all have in common is that we are engaged in a very similar industry, which is the nonprofit. So we are all motivated, right, by a passion that's been instilled, a God-given passion, whether it's young women, whether it's the household, whether it's food, whether it's connectivity. Each one of those nonprofit passions that we are essentially attaching to our life has to come with some types of resources, right? And then as we look at proximity and location of where we're at, I mean, we're in Des Moines. So part of it is that there's not a strong, thriving Black community that's decision makers, right? You have individuals that may be in different places that may be resourceful, but because they have to think about survival, right? That word was mentioned. They have fear, right? The fear of being accepted, right? Cannot necessarily be your authentic self, because being authentic in a world that you do not have control over, there's a risk involved, right? A risk of isolation, a risk of being ostracized, a risk of being pushed out. And I think in some capacity, each one of us have felt that in some capacity or another. And now, I don't like this word, but I think is true, that there's some type of micro trauma that we deal with when we see someone of ourselves, right? That's like, oh, if I connect, right, how much of myself do I have to give up before I'm actually losing the thing that I need to progress in my passion, whether, like, because it's a money thing or if it's a acceptance thing. And I do believe that the connectivity is rooted in just the fear and also proximity. There's hurdles that we have to address, right? That's being where we're at. I mean, this isn't Atlanta, this ain't New York, this ain't Chicago, this ain't Florida, this ain't the Bahamas. I mean, that we cannot ignore the fact that we live in a state that is 94, 95% European American. And when we do come to Des Moines, which is a very rich culture, right? Now we're dealing with not just white versus black, but now we have in the diversity of different cultures here, right? We have the African diaspora, we have the Burmese community, we have the the Latino communities that they're very connected. So many times, not to be too long-winded, we're struggling to find where we fit in. And sometimes the only place that we fit in is not necessarily with the black community because we don't have a lot of resources to give one another. So now if we are accepted, that fear factor come in and it's like, I don't necessarily want to, because what if, and what if they take it? What if, and I think that really has a lot to do with our connectivity.
Wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah, let's go a little deeper on that. Let's get to the roots, right? Let's talk about our history, our culture. Let's keep it real with the systemic issues and challenges that we have to go through, being a Black African American person of color, how you might ever identify. You mentioned the word trauma, Fig, and I want to go a little deeper on that. In what ways do you think trauma, personal or generational, still shape how we show up with each other today? So again, in what ways do you think that trauma, personal or generational, still shape how we show up? Look, I felt the energy off the screen. We ready for this question, Paul. Let us loose. I'm ready. Yeah. I don't know if the audience might be ready, but I'm ready.
I don't know.
Let's hear it. Give it to me.
I'm gonna give it to you. There's two things that we could say, right? Two kind of lines I'm gonna draw. When you think about the European culture, a lot of times you hear words like generational wealth, right? And then you hear the Black community, you hear generational curses. And so now you got three levels of mama issues, lack of dad, like systemic. I mean, this is 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And these are seeds that have been deeply rooted in households that I think the barriers are now being broken in some capacity because of the technological age that we could connect more and we're not quite as siloed. But those traumas are rooted. I mean, you got 400 years, right? I mean, we could, that's not arbitrary. That's not just to say, oh, get over it. It's not just necessarily racism. Right? It's ignorance, it's racism, it's prejudice, it's self-preservation, right? Like I think one thing is ignorance. I think one thing that we don't talk a lot about is that we forget that the white community is also a proud heritage of people that they want to preserve themselves as well. So it's like we think that as soon as they mention, hey, we're trying to preserve, we immediately say, hey, that's racist. But for us, we're on a conversation trying to uplift our own people. So some of those traumas that absolutely are happening for so many different reasons that this, I believe, is the steps in the right directions, but it goes much beyond just simple the here and now. These are things that has been generationally handed down. Even our perception of other people, our fear of other people, our fear of other cultures, our ignorance, all the things that happen. I definitely think that plays a massive part in what we're doing or what's happening.
All right. Who's going next? Come on now.
I got some thoughts. So I'm a history buff. So I'm gonna walk you through this and try and land this plane quick.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take you back to the 40s, right? When Black men went to World War II and they came back and they were not allowed any of the benefits, any of the, and this is including housing, education, employment. So you pair that, right, historically with enslavement. So we already this cap between enslavement to the 40s. And then when they come back, they can't have these things. And we know, and we can talk about masculinity here at a different time, but we talk about taking away the structure of how Black men feels about themselves. adding to the 50s and 60s when they did the man in the house rule. Y'all remember that? When they told the Black women they could not have any benefits if there was a male present in the house. And so what they did was pop-up visits. Homeboy had to get out. So not only can he afford to take care of his family, he can't even live there. Right? So you are taking structures, systemic structures, into these communities and destroying them, right? And houses are built in so many different ways, but I'm bringing to today, as I live here in Iowa, many people don't even know that history. They don't know why these things are broken apart. I even had a conversation with someone about what the Green Book was, right? So growing up in Chicago, I learned about these things. I think there's a fear of knowing the truth because it means I have to hate them. Now, I learned about my blackness and my blackness. It had nothing to do with
hating them at all.
Nothing.
It was about you, not about them.
Celebrated understanding you. You were excited to come to school, to be at work, to show up, to celebrate yourself. And then you were taught as you got older in school to bring the littles behind you. They stopped doing that when No Child Left Behind. All the schools got defunded. All those things went away. There's no extracurricular activities. We're going to change the way they even look at calling them indentured servants. People don't even know who they are. So I can't help you understand community if you don't even know who you are. Because how do you understand community if you don't know how to show up for yourself? Me, I like Fig said, we all sitting here because we know who we are. We know how to find place. We cannot have a true conversation about how to fix, and that's quote unquote. I don't know if the word is fix. I don't agree with that word either. But we can't fix what's happening if people don't individually know who their passions are, their love, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what makes them joyful, what makes them prideful, what's their ego. They don't even know those things. They barely even know their body. So I'm like, I've learned to have patience living.
It's the lack of knowledge. It's true.
I learned to have patience because I cannot get mad at someone who doesn't know who they are. And that doesn't mean that you don't know things about yourself, but to really understand you and your presence is to understand your history, where you come from, the land you walk on. This ain't our home. This is where we got taken to, and we never got picked back up. And we thrived on this land despite all the things that have happened. And there was so much good for us too. Even though we have learned about civil rights and Jim Crow and all the things, there was so much good. I had to teach someone about the real queen of rock and roll, right? Because people are like, why are you learning how to play the guitar? Do you know Black people started rock and roll? Like, do you have any idea the power we have if we knew who we were?
The lack of knowledge.
I'm never going to argue with somebody who I know for a fact has stolen from people who look like me. So hold on. And to add to the piece, so I said all of this, right? It was not till 2024 that a lawsuit was present. 2024 because of this GI Bill. So this happened in 1944, and they're just suing the Veterans Affairs Office in 2024 because there's reparations. Because when we talk about reparations, people think, oh, it's just ghetto people, ghetto Black people that talk about they want their money. No, these are actual people who did not receive the benefits that they fought overseas for. These are just average walking day people. And by the way, I believe we all should get a check. Just saying. I don't care how.
I'll cash it.
He'll cash it.
That part.
I mean my money because if somebody says, "Oh, you lazy?" I'm lazy for a reason.
I love it.
I mean,
To piggyback off of what Jasmine and Fig said, I completely agree that it's not enough of us who know who we are, especially when you see us trying to imitate another culture that we are not. There's nothing wrong with being inclusive. Inclusive to me means that you can celebrate somebody else by just being quiet. We don't practice that enough. We don't teach who we are enough. because then we're worried about humbleism, imposter syndrome, being the bigger person, and so on and so forth. Celebrating who you are and where you come from and the good that you have contributed to this world
Man, the world.
is a big problem for a lot of us because we want to be humble. We don't want to offend other people. We don't want to be looked upon as we think we're something when we are. It's okay for us to be celebrated and to celebrate each other and to learn things and to say, okay, that happened in history. I don't think I want to repeat that part, but this happened and I want to do that. We don't come together enough. And I thought about it earlier. And the one thing I've learned, if I've learned nothing else about being Black, is empathy. Because I don't want anybody to feel the way my ancestors felt when they were being disrespected, or how I feel being here. Because y'all know, coming from Chicago, it's so segregated. I didn't have to interact with certain things. I didn't have a white high school teacher until high school. So I was grounded in who I am.
Right.
The hair, the big nose, the smiling, the celebrations, the family, the gatherings. We don't have that anymore. So we don't give each other a chance to come together and learn from each other with just sitting down and having a conversation. We don't have it anymore.
Can I ask a question on? I'm going to ask a question on that. That's interesting that you brought that up. Are there platforms within our community that even allows for that? Without us, I mean, like, in other words, like the family, the connectivity. I know one thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that I know the church played such a huge part in the connecting of the community I mean, and I'll be honest with you, I see the fraternities and the sororities, and I see the intimacy, right? The connectivity. I see the support. I mean, y'all know Paula. She gonna write something. She like, my sorority sister's got my brother's got, like, that's what she gonna do.
I got
Go ahead, Patty.
I know exactly what you're saying, and I'm gonna say this: there's a disconnect between the generations with not having something implanted in you to see if you even want to trust God or know God. It's not offered as much as it was before. Those things, sororities, fraternities, and things are more highlighted than it is like Jacob's Ladder or doing community service with church or going to Bible study or anything, because our grandmothers and stuff are gone, and we have so many generational curses that are not in fact that.
Right.
We're separated from that. I'm like, y'all love the Lord. Gonna speak about him any chance I get.
Right.
But there are so many children and people who are my age and younger, they don't have to. So they don't have a grounding in that. And that's a big part of it. Like you said, who we are.
And I think
but I'm going to say this though, Patty. But I'm going to say this too, y'all. This is going to be a whole nother podcast. There's a lot of people who've been church hurt.
That's real.
Yes.
Because the church has changed in some aspect, not all of them, but some have changed and lost the whole reason of the church being a safe haven and a place to come as you are, and they're running it more like a business.
I can understand.
And so,
that.
And I think you have that going on too with the generational, and you have dynamics in families, which is also going to be another one I'm going to do. The family dynamics have changed to where you have a lot of single family homes, whether it's men raising, women raising. If they're not, they identify by a different gender raising. You have a lot of family dynamics that are playing. So there's so many layers to this doggone onion.
Right. What I want to say, I don't want to take away from anybody's lived experience, but there are other things that have hurt you and that have damaged you, and you still interact with it every day.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. That's
whether you
true.
want to or not.
Yeah.
If you going to work, people get
Yeah.
on your nerves.
It was the water company. The water company that hurt my feelings a couple of times, but I still got to pay that.
This weather has hurt my feelings. I'm with Jasmine. Take me back to the motherland.
But
And
you
that-
know what though? I'm gonna tell you what the difference is with it though. I
Mhm.
personally feel when you come from the church, because I was like you all raised up in the church. My mom was a minister. The expectations and the perception and the standards of a church are very different than some of these other places that have hurt
This
you.
is true.
And because of that, and because of, you know, that's a place where a lot of us would go. Think about it. And again, I didn't grow up in Chicago, but I was in New York. So I was in the projects just like you all. The drug dealers even had respect for the church.
Right.
I mean, it was just a different sort of environment. And I think some of
Was.
that we have lost over
You
time.
ain't wrong.
Right?
It's not a thought. It's the truth. Yes, ma'am.
So to circle back around to the original question
Mhm.
was, why is the loss of connectivity? I think beyond the spirituality of the church, which I do think is a different conversation, or even people's engagement or their relationship with the Lord. I think just from even a social component, right? Just from a specific one day a week or a time frame, right? Let's just talk strictly just social, right? There, where other than if we're doing some type of event, because I know all of us are hyper involved in our community and doing the nonprofit events, and we have different things going on that we're constantly at events and events. That's how we all really have engaged with one another, because we engage now through the nonprofit. Why is the connectivity lost, or where is the connectivity lost? I believe is that, are there places that we can gather that's beyond the social media and beyond the technological separation, right? Because that's also a thing, right? How much technology has separated us, right? I mean, so there's a lot of those things, but there are still people that may not even love the Lord, but they knew they was going to go to church on Sunday because that's just part of the culture, to be somewhere for them to connect. And they could do businesses, and they could say, hey, you can mow my lawn or watch my kids, and now I'm going to use your construction and I'm going to, you're going to be the one fixing my painting my house. And then you see a lot more integration among the Black community, because there was at least a meetup spot, whatever you want to call it, there still was a meetup spot that allowed for the flourishing of connectivity that I don't think exists in 2025 as it once did. I rest.
Well, what I will say is, being Black is our history is in the church. The church has such a profound place in our life, in our
100%.
civil service, right? Our ability to take care of ourselves. We think about the Black Panther Party, like all those things were in the church. When the church, and I don't know, I didn't do any of this research to stand on this, but something happened between the Great Migration, right? People moved out of the South, had their reasons for staying, had their reasons for going, all that transition happening. People established churches in the North, right? Schools became broader in access when segregation got removed. So what we have not caught up to, and what I say the church has not caught up to, is understanding how people are creating spaces of their own and not allowing those spaces to coexist with the church and the benefit, right? So you're telling me to pay my tithes and offerings. I'm saying here, like, may come to Bible study, because my dad was a preacher kid, and I spent 4 days a week in church when I was growing up. So do I go to church today? I do not. My husband, his family, deacons, deep in the church. So I was like, all right, when we get married, what we doing? But the reality my husband and I talk about a lot is we want a church home. And part of it is understanding, like, how do we see ourselves as we come to God, as we read the Bible, as we understand the community around us, because we are higher ed professionals. So now we are more critical. And the church doesn't want to be critical about things all the time, right? The study oftentimes, and that's what it will be. So when we start talking and adding like different types of people, that's when it's like, oh, time to go. Oh, that on my personal politics. Oh, that morality start kicking in, right? And now we see the weaponization of religion.
Yes.
So now you're asking people to come back to something that they had hurt or disconnect from, or maybe have no
or damaged. Yeah. Yeah,
And I'm
great
watching
point.
on the screen that they talking about how the Lord telling people to go get deported. So I think we cannot separate spirituality from black understanding, because that's where our home was. That's where a lot of the help came from. I'm now learning, like, people are asking the church for help when, you know, the SNAP was down, and they telling them, oh, are you a member?
Mm.
I didn't know you had to be a member to get help from a church. News to me. But again, I understand, because everything has to have a cycle. Churches need to survive. Survival means economic, right? We're not going to sit here and play that game, right? I know those things take place. But is there opportunity to fix that? To reestablish a connection? Not to say there isn't any connection, because I see a lot, like Corinthians. Everybody named mama told me about Corinthians when I got here, right?
Mhm.
So I see people are doing a lot of work in the community, but how is that outreach beyond the people that get their hair done together, that sit in the pew together? Like, people should be able to welcome people. I did not get one single invite to a church when I moved here. This is the first place I've lived where I did not get one single invite to a church. And I've
So
lived,
hold
The
on a
thing
minute.
too, going,
I've been lived in 5 states, and this is the first time I did not get one invite. So it's like, yeah, it's different here. I said that's the best way to put it. It is different.
Agree. JT, you were about to say something.
yeah, I think all that is spot on, and you know, if you take the history that you mentioned, Jasmine, and the you know, our safe place in the church, our community, if you will, through in church. I mean, let's face it, church has been a community for a place where we get to go, right, and assemble as community and serve the Lord. And you know, and there's the places we got to go, right, like work and to go get whatever we need to done. And so what I've seen, in my opinion, is boiled down to an identity crisis, right? So we've inherited some identity issues, and that shows up when conflict happens in the church, or that shows up when we're out in the workplace. That shows up in Iowa when it's predominantly white, and we're the significant minority, right, to the tune of 4 or 5%. And so, you know, when we get into social areas or networking areas, that self-preservation, you know, somebody mentioned, starts to show its face, right? And when you don't know who you are, and I've lived part of this, right, coming from Chicago, and you know, singing the Black national anthem every day, and you know, going through our history and moving here. I mean, you can go through, if you're not sure, an identity crisis, and when you get in public, that shows up in a lack of connectivity, right? I mean, you get in a room with other Black professionals or other Black people, men or women, and you have a perception, right? And a lot of times that perception for us in society is like, hey, you know, who is this? Or, you know, do I have to share space? Or I'm supposed to be the guy, or I'm supposed to be the gal. And so I think identity, a lack of identity, is plaguing us.
Wholeheartedly.
So I have a question about that as we talk about identity, and we just talk about connection in general. What do you all wish Black men better understood about Black women, and Black women better understood about Black men? So my Black men, what do you wish you understood about Black women? Ask us now. And our Black women, what do you wish you understood about Black men? Ask them now to help us do better.
You know, I'll say, I think that understanding and comprehension comes with maturity. I mean, I grew up in a single parent home where my mom took care of all 5 of us. So my mom had to be the mom and the dad and the care, everything, right? The provider. And so how that shows up in my mom's life is, you know, sometimes she can be a little spicy. She's a nurturer, right? But she has to be all things to, you know, make life work. And so I think it's easy for us as Black men to have stereotypes, right? Or, and call it an angry Black woman or what have you. But I think experiences have, developed, and, unfortunate experiences where the father's missing in the household, again, has developed some of the stereotypes that exist. And so I'm not sure I have any.
Wait a minute, JT. I got to ask you a question on something you just said. So you said the angry Black women. So you mean to tell me our Black men out there are giving us that stereotype too, and we already got it from our non-Black counterparts?
Yes.
So
yes.
why?
Yes.
So wait.
That's the first thing they say. That's the first thing they say.
Yes.
So wait.
100%.
Wait.
We go. Here she.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, if we gonna have the conversation, let's have the conversation.
Yeah.
So why y'all getting on that bandwagon and going against us as Black women and doing that? Why are you gonna add to the stereotype and call us angry Black women too? I need to understand this. Why y'all saying that?
Wait, can I?
Again, from my experience, I think it's a lack of perspective and understanding on what history, on the hand that history has dealt us, and so I think our sisters are misunderstood in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So misunderstood by Black men, because I'm really interested in a Black man's perspective. Actually, I'm gonna have a whole nother podcast on this anyway, but I'm just really interested on. So when you say misunderstood, what are the components that our brothers, our Black men, misunderstand about us as Black women?
Again,
and I'm really not putting you on the spot, JT. No. I'm not asking you to speak for all Black men on the face of the earth. That's not what I'm doing. I'm actually really trying to understand and get some clarity on what are y'all thinking about us? Because I would hope we would get to the point where you just think we queens. And we for you, we're supporting you, we're here together, right? But what is it? Because this goes back to the topic. Back in the day, in community, we supported each other, we had each other, and that's gradually gone away. And I know it's systemic or whatnot, but what's
can I please say something?
But wait.
Perception.
Can I please say something?
Wait. There are communities where we have gotten along as Black men and Black women.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking
along, and then there's the true community.
Yeah, but wait.
I thought y'all wanted our perspective. I mean,
I do. But this is interesting to me because when I grew up, and I am a different generation, so what I'm trying to understand is when I grew up, I did see where there were communities that had each other and I'm talking about Black communities that had each other. It can be done. My question really is, what has happened to the point of where some of the stereotypes that our non-people of color already deal with have now attached themselves to our people of color? That's really the question I'm asking.
Let's have the guys talk first, because I want to.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So for clarity, that's where I'm going. Yeah. And JT, were you done? First of all, I just want to make sure we didn't cut you off from.
Let's have them talk first.
Yeah. I mean, I think like we mentioned the breakdown of just the community, those communities, right? Even take the church, right? There were those safe havens, and that community stood up. But again, going back, I mean, when I look back at the pillars of the village that raised me, it was my mom, my grandmothers, right? I mean, my aunties, my godmothers. And so, look, these women were fighters, and they are fighters today. And so you can run up or show up, and that's how they'll show out to protect their family. And I think, them embodying that, which I love them for, and I thank God for, again, just continues to show up through life. And I think it's a misunderstanding. And so, and I don't look at my matriarchs that way, but I think not having perspective or maturity in the hand that history has dealt. And again, I'm looking at my community and my life. I think it's easy for us men to slap that label.
Okay, that's fair. How about you, Fig?
Yeah, I think a couple things I want to address. One, I think, is that protection many times get confused with or aggression, right, of women, or defensive mechanisms. Many oftentimes get confused as aggression, right? Because at the end of the day, like, there's media is a real thing, right? Like, I come from a country, right, that, yeah, it's close in proximity to the United States, but we have a completely different personification of the way the household is ran. So when I first came to the United States, all of the media that was put in front of me, there's only one, and I'm sure my wife is listening. There's one Black woman I had an affinity, well, two of them. One of them was Felicia Rashad from the Cosby Show, and the other one was Storm from X-Men. Other than that, the personification of the Black woman gave me what I was said as a 14-year-old, as a 12-year-old Black by color, not African American, foreigner that comes to a culture, that the media that was perpetuated gave all these women the stereotypes. And the thing about it is that the circle and the environment that I was in, these young women perpetuated the stereotypes.
Because you do what you see.
It was the head slapping, I ain't got, it was all of that, to where I told myself, there's no way in the world I'm marrying me no Black woman. I said that because, right, my wife is Black. She's African American.
She is. She's beautiful.
But, hey, you said we're gonna keep it real, right? We're gonna keep it. Oh, so what I saw on TV was not what I saw in life. I saw a third world country full of women who did and acted a certain way that was not reflective of the world that I got introduced to. So now I am defaulted African American, but I am not cultured. I'm African American. I didn't eat greens until I was 29, 30 years old. And the woman who so happened to make it for me, I ended up marrying her because I'm like, what is this? I thought it's welted up lettuce. So I'm like, why is she giving me this old stale lettuce? Like, what is this? I put it in the microwave, threw some hot sauce on them. Man, next thing you know, dun, 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 I'm mad at you. We cannot negate, right, the same stereotypes. It's because we all have the same media stations, right? We still have BET, we still had MTV, we still had the demasculation of men, we still had NWA, we still seen the men sagging, we seen the women ratchet, we seen the identity crisis that happened. So it wasn't like we was able to see the gems and the one-off situation. We seen society as a whole that was presented to us in such a way that caused us to not slap a label, but to the same way we many of the African Americans label white people, right? Like, there's a lot of and then the reality is, like, a lot of us got great white friends, but how many times have we heard in the house, don't you trust no white people? Those white people out to get you. How many times have we made those statements within our own community, and then we do it inversely, and then we get mad at it? So for me, my sisters may get mad. When my sisters were teenagers, I'm like, boy, don't no dude want to be with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, what's wrong with you mothers? Why y'all so angry? Why y'all so mad? And again, it took me being immersed into a different environment that I start seeing, like, yo, that's not the case in every situation. Because, to be honest with you, the Black women that I see that's in my circle of influence right now are phenomenal. They're nothing like what the stereotype told me. But I cannot act like media does not have an impact on the way we see the world. So
well, and talk about me. I mean, talk about media and how it perpetuates itself. I mean, we got Big Mama's House, right? We got Medea's, and how do those ladies show up in movies, right?
That's the leadership
of men, though. Like, that's true. What's funny. You all use those examples, but those are emasculation of men, and there was a whole discussion on, like, why. Like, Williams talked about it. I love Pat Williams, right? So
yeah, but they're showing up as the matriarchs, right? The Black matriarchs.
Right? Yeah.
It's what happens, right? Is like, and sorry, Patty, I was just like my brain, but
you go ahead. No, you go ahead, because I got mine. I remember.
Yeah, I think so. Context: married to an amazing Black man, raised by two Black people. I was raised by two Black people. Everybody in my family, best friends are married to Black people, and they are Black women. We talk about this often.
You host events for Black women.
So I hear you all, because I grew up with the BETs, and you see how I'm using my hands. I'm an educated woman. I'm on my PhD, right? So the fact of Black women can be multi-layered. I can show up with
intersectional,
right? I know how to work the room. I know how to network. I know how to do my thing. I also know how to be sexy and feminine. I know when it's time to be hard. I think for a lot of Black women you all are talking about, they've never been able to move spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what is hard, is you're blaming them, right? As much as you may not want to use that word, but the way in which you all have described it of like, why y'all so hard? You're asking someone caged to be open to the world, and that is not possible. I will give you an example. What recently just happened in Michigan State. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there, because again, when we talk about
wait a minute, back up. No, you can't just say that. What happened at Michigan State? You got
of what I have.
You didn't see what happened, Paula?
No, I'm not saying that. We are on a live, and people may not. This is our time, so at a high level, what happened?
University of Michigan, Jasmine.
University of Michigan. I thought it was Michigan State. Yes, University of Michigan. I'm not even going to talk about like the interrelations, but the fact that this Black man is at a predominantly white school in this high positioned like job that everyone in college football across the world knows who you are, and you decide that it is safe for you to DoorDash a plan B and somebody ain't gonna figure it out. That means you found your privilege in that moment. Black women can't do that. And you notice how many of us lost our jobs recently? That number didn't say Black men. That number said Black women. So for me, I'm like, Big Mama, great example, how people more attribute that as, oh, that's hurting Black women. That's actually hurting Black men, because to have a Black man in a dress, how many times you see a boy, I ain't no girl. I literally was doing youth yoga, and who's sitting along the wall are Black boys. Men don't stretch. Men don't.
They can't feed their babies. They can't work in the kitchen in the daycare because they're not gonna ever eat.
That's stupid. Who taught you that? Who taught you that?
So, but Jasmine, but you're almost mirroring the same point, because the hear me out. The examples that you just gave, right, was like what we seen. We're blaming the young boys there. I do think that. Unless I misunderstood.
No, you have your opinion.
No, yes, that's your opinion, but that is I did not, because I understand why they're against the wall. So part of it is to invite them in. I'm not gonna look at them like, oh, they ain't gonna want to participate. No, I brought my husband with me because I knew that there was only there was a certain reach that I can have as a woman to teach them about their masculinity that I don't have.
And I applaud that, and I applaud that, but I do believe that the question, the origin of the question, Paula says, why does Black men generally, right, have the same or stereotypes as other cultures?
And not to interrupt you, but Jasmine gave you the reason. You all have it implanted in so many ways to see us in the way that they see us.
It benefits you. Yes.
I'm gonna add this. When Black men are seen as something, it's a monolith. So you all are all gangsters, gangbangers, drug dealers. That's the same thing with Black women. We're all loud. We're all, like you said, ratchet. We're all this, we're all that. We sometimes see each other as a monolith and we run with it, even though we're in it. They're not in it. We're in it. And we still sometimes choose to see each other as things that we're not. You don't want to be clumped together. We don't have the understanding that we are all a culture of people, but we're not the same.
Go ahead, Jasmine.
No, I'm just saying it's systemic. That's why I'm like, this isn't
yes.
us.
We're not saying it's y'all because we love y'all. You have nothing but respect for us. For me, meeting both of you, it's been respect. We're not talking about you. We're just saying that the monologue idea is taken too far.
Well, I just told you why there's a separation between black and black men and black women, because the system is afraid when we come together. We think about the Black Panther Party. I wrote a whole like paper on this of like what really truly happened, because we use the Black Panther Party as an existence of like, oh, we came together, but there was so much misogyny. There was so much anti-black within the community against black women that we didn't have time to process. And when all of them got arrested or murdered, who had to pick up the torch? We cannot afford to discredit you as a black man, but you can benefit from discrediting us. Case in point, Stephen A. Smith. He gets paid to attack black people, particularly black women. You don't see a black woman on a platform outside of Candace Owens. We don't claim her. You don't see no black woman on a podcast with a platform that everybody and their mama watch discrediting black men. Not saying that it don't exist, but we all know Stephen A. Smith. We all know all of the drink champs, all of that. They've been able to call black women this, that, and the other, and they don't lose nothing. They lose nothing. They even get more. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is not even us.
Paula, and I appreciate the perspective, Jasmine, but I double down on the fact that what we've had to do in order to not continue the narrative, the internal narrative of what was been stated, is to be educated, to be illuminated, and to be in situations where we was able to change our perspective.
We understand that, but
yeah, we agree. I think we're agreeing.
There's no, I understand to a point, because I can't tell you about your lived experience, but you can't tell me that every woman you met before you met your wife was just ratchet as hell.
No, but no. And I hope you didn't hear that. I hope you didn't hear that.
But I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, no. I hope if that's what was heard, that was misquoted. Initially, do we still carry stereotypes?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what I was addressing.
Yes. So we understand that. Yes. You were 100% correct
in
everything you said.
I hope so.
Critical of it, and I think that's where I think some of us are moving and being more critical of it a little bit, right? Because I'm like, I could sit here and
I get it. And be honest with you, like there's a level of defense here, right? Because I mean, as I stated my opinion of where we was at, it's like, no, this is why, but this is still, regardless, like Patty, you said, well, it's like lived experience, right? Like it took. I mean, that's all I got. Right, like I come from a country where, again, it was 95% black. I didn't even understand the idea of black versus white until I got into high school. I didn't even understand the idea of cultural separation, because when people says I don't see color, that's a real thing. Like that was not a thing. So a lot of what I understand, life experience, is I seen Bahamian. I identified more closely with the culture of the Latinos because of the food, because of the way that they operated, because of more men was in the homes. I never understood a woman-led household. That was all very, very new for me. So the limit, and we didn't have YouTube. We did. So one or two things that came on TV, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That changed my paradigm. And until my paradigm was able to be illuminated, that I was able to see differently. So coming from my own worldview, that's why it was like that. First, there'd be pure ignorance for me to say that that's the way, that it took me to mid-30s to believe that every black woman is raped. That's ignorant. And of course, that's not the case. But I'm saying from a systemic standpoint, that was perpetuated for us to believe. And without these kind of conversations, which don't happen very often, a lot of them people are just afraid to admit that's still the truth about it.
But in Jasmine's defense, not to take away from what you're saying, she's giving you reason that this is happening.
And I heard that. Just like you said, I get that. I get the reason. But the question that was on the table is like, do we still have? And that answer
we
is
do.
yes.
Yeah.
And here's why. Because inversely, she says, hey, Black women, what is something that you want to ask Black men, right? That you may not have the chance to ask them. And I think, it'll be interested to hear what you guys may have to, because there's something that's refreshing about, like, okay, what is it? What are those questions that may happen that's like we just may not be aware of? That are there stereotypes? Are there, is it the same thing? I don't know.
I don't have, I'll be honest with you, I don't have any questions. I want Black men to know that we love you.
Yeah.
Right? I think we don't get opportunity to say that to you in wholeheartedness, because we are having to be defensive, because we care. When we moisturizing you up and asking you if you drank water, did you eat, right? Those things are love languages for us, and you may not have gotten it, but I know I was raised to be that way. My mom is from Belize. She a Caribbean woman. She married a West Side Chicago dude. And let me tell you, my dad is something. And my mom prayed every Sunday over that man. She is still married, amen, to my dad for over 30 years. They're going to be 40 soon, because I'm 38. Oh, good God. So I ask her all the time, like, she had to give so much of herself. And when I met my husband before that, I didn't want to be married at all. Because I was like, it wasn't even because I dated every type of background. I dated somebody from Switzerland, right? Because I went to school in Nevada. But I always knew, like, if I can't be with a Black man, I don't even know how this is gonna work. Because of how I am, who I have to bring him home to, right? The world I live in will not allow him to be safe, and I don't even know if I can feel wholeheartedly safe, right? And work through that. It's not to say other people who are in different types of marriages don't work, but I was like, when I met my husband, I was thanking God, because I was like, there's no way, based off of who I am, where I was raised, where I got. And so I don't have a question. I just want to say, like, we love you, right? We see you. We admire who you are trying to strive to be. We know that you are surviving this world alongside of us. I just don't want you to not there. It is mutually exclusive to think that who you are does not impact the rest of us. I think we have accepted this white supremacist ideology that we are all individuals. I ain't gotta be out there. That ain't my problem. Those people, right? And I've heard that from a lot of Black people from all types of backgrounds. And everything about us is interconnected. This issue of migration, that's going to harm Black people eventually, because we ain't all from here. Somebody got somebody that still ain't a citizen, that's still working on citizenship in so many different ways, that they married into the world. So for me, I'm like, we can't sit here, and Black men understanding, not you all, but just who's watching this, is that what happens to us still impacts you, whether
That's why
you
we all need empathy
or not, right? Like, whether you believe it or not, because your children are Black, and whether they are white passing is a whole different story. But I meet as a former higher ed professional, these kids got access, and they're going to ask questions. And when you don't tell them who they are, where they come from, and they only raise in this different way, and that's for any Black child, you are going to get a child that is very confused, frustrated, and angry. Because I don't know how many times they get to higher ed, and we could tell DEI ain't there. Higher ed is going to be critical, because they're going to be in a room full of other people that, like you said, until I got somewhere, this happened. Why did they say this? I didn't get called the N-word until high school. And that's when I moved to Las Vegas.
I got that here.
And that was crazy. And I don't think my parents did a good job of helping me through that, because they didn't know, right? They weren't around white people either. So they were just like, oh, that's just a thing. So now I have to reverse and teach my parents, for the sake of their grandchildren, about who they are, about what's going on. So all of this impacts you at some point. It may not be right now. And I hope that folks understand that, because that's what frustrates me the most, is that we adopt in this individuality mindset that does not serve us. Like, it's going to harm us at some point.
So here's what I'm going to say, because I know we're coming up against time too. Number one, there needs to be a part 2, because we didn't even get. So we did a lot of unpacking tonight. We did a lot of conversation. We had a lot of different perspectives being shared, lived experiences being shared. But at some point, there needs to be some sort of healing. There needs to be some sort of plan for it, some sort of action for it, some sort of way to move beyond this. So we haven't even gotten to that part yet, which I believe needs to be part 2. But before we wrap up for tonight, what I do want to give each of you, now that you've had this conversation and we've talked, and we all come from different walks of lives, different experiences. When Fig was bringing up how he was raised in community, again, I was raised Caribbean community, real tight. So some of the things that I did not know about or learn, I didn't learn until I moved to Oklahoma. I didn't realize how judgmental I was until I moved to Oklahoma. I'm in the same country, Fig. I'm not even in a different country. I'm in the same country. And I moved from New York to Oklahoma. And I didn't realize some of the things that I had, the biases, the stereotypes. Let's just call it what it is. The prejudices, the discrimination.
We have a lot of covert biases that we don't realize.
It is what it is. And that's why I was asking some questions. Are you all really saying that Black people, that our Black men still? I didn't do that because I don't know. I did that to bring awareness. That is because if we don't state it,
a lot of women that
are. If we don't say it, if we don't put it out there, if we don't acknowledge it, we're not going to do this collective healing we need to do. We need to, within our own community, we so busy helping everybody else. We need to spend some focus on our own and get ourselves together, because as you all said, we dominate at everything we do. That's why systems have been put in place to stop that. Right. But that doesn't mean we got to stop it. We've always risen to any challenge. We still can. And to Jasmine's point, we have to, because we got the next generation coming behind us and we got to get them ready. But I don't think this conversation ends tonight. We need to have a part 2. Hell, we might have a part 3, 4, 5 at this rate.
I want to tell the gentleman, like, growing up in Chicago, there are some respectful men, but the way that I had to learn how to defend myself against men and their verbiage, it is enlightening to speak to men who aren't just ignorant and disregarding of who you are as a person. So thank you. Because sometimes in Chicago and other big spaces, you have to pick and choose. Because you have to feel like Queen Latifah, UNITY a lot of times, like, oh, okay, that's the type of time we on. But to speak to men who are respectful, who are not after something, whether it's money, sex, or anything to that sort, is enlightening. It's very enlightening. Thank you.
Yeah, I picked the right crew for this conversation. because I already knew y'all aren't going to hold back. You're going to say what you have to say, but you're also going to hear the other perspective, right? And I have to agree. I do want to see us more on both sides, the men and the female side, showing up and supporting each other more. Because at the end of the day, we going through enough outside of our community. We don't need to be going through it in the community as well, right? And all of us are in nonprofit worlds where we are impacting family dynamics, impacting our youth. We have a passion for it and a purpose for it. So you're not talking to anybody or watching anybody on this screen who isn't putting in work. We're putting in the work to help our community, but we also know it takes a village. And that village mindset needs to come back. And it has been lost. It has been lost by many different reasons that you all mentioned tonight. But before we end it out, I do want to give each of you a moment, because there will be a part. Are y'all good with having a part 2
I'm good.
5?
I'm with
Because I think we need to really continue this conversation. But what is one thing you would want to leave those who are listening to this now, or will be listening to it in the future with, as we just had this discussion tonight?
Yeah, I'll kick off. So first of all, thanks for hosting us, Paula. Having these conversations are just important, because one, we don't, but even more importantly in them, as a community, as a Black community, there are perspectives on stereotypes, their perspectives on prejudices or what have you. And, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, we've got to listen and be available to really understand and comprehend, right? And I think we can break down a lot of those barriers, even when they are falsely rooted, or you know, they are historically rooted. But I don't think we do a good enough job of listening to validate, because once we hit that validation point with someone, we can start moving, right? I think a lot of the challenge we have is we want to be heard first, right? We want our perspective to come across. We want to be right, and that's just that's more human than it is, you know, any given community. But we've just got to do a really, really exceptional job of doing that to break down these invisible barriers that exist. Again, from Black men to Black women, or same gender conversations and barriers. So that's what I advocate for, right? When we can sit down and get in a room and we can listen. I mean, I've learned a lot from you guys. Your perspectives are great, right? And they're educating. And so the more we do that, the more we can find some common ground and say, I got you, sis. I got you, bro. How do we move forward?
Yeah, like JT says, thanks for hosting and inviting this conversation. Kind of two things, you know, think about, you know, what they say, the golden rule: love your neighbor. But I do believe like that's rooted in just seeing the best, right, and hoping the best, empathizing. You know, Patty kept saying that, empathizing with others' perspectives. But I do think that Paula, that you did, this is an action item, right? Because I do think that those people that are listening and watching, there are some stereotypes that got broken down tonight, I believe, just in this simple fact that we've had this conversation. We could be animated, we could be passionate, we could be, you know, we could all rooted in the fact of love, right? We wanted to help one another. We want to let each other see. We this is a small sample size, but I do believe that we modeled something here tonight that should be reproducible. It's like, yo, maybe I could have a conversation, right? Maybe I could bring up hard topics, and we could talk about identity. We could talk about what does it truly mean to be Black. Whoa, there's different types of Black, but still rooted in the same, right? I mean, still rooted in the same problems, right? And helping one another. So I do believe that this, I hope, I pray that it's modeled something for people to be able to be educated, right? Learn, right? I learned some things from all of you guys tonight. You know, got some history lessons from the history buff, and sharing some things that I took notes on, you know, because I do believe that one of the most critical things about having these conversations is the willingness to learn, right? And I was willing to learn. I was willing to listen. I have my opinions, right? And I'm dogmatic about certain things. You can't shake my faith and like there's certain things that I'm not changing. It is some things that I was just like, that's very interesting. I want to go and investigate further to further educate myself. So I do think the couple things: love, acceptance, and then also the willingness to learn was very valuable tonight. So I hope this is something that could continue across multiple platforms. And yes, I accept the invitation if we want to have part 2.
There's no if. We will. There's no if. It will happen.
Yes, ma'am. I rest.
All right, Jasmine, Patty, who wants to go next?
Yeah, I can go. I just, again, echo JT and Fig. Like, I think you all bringing your lived experiences humanize this conversation, because we don't always get the space. And so with Patty, Paula, we got to be human, because there's so much about our lived experience that shapes the reasons behind why we believe things. I think as people who are watching this playback or maybe dissecting it later, is to remain curious. I think that's what's given me power and principle, is that I'm like, I can always be curious about someone else's experience, but I'm solid and foundational in mine, right? Like, I don't have to be defensive. I can be critical, curious, ask the questions. I don't care what it is. But that is so important to dialogue like this, to actually get to the healing, to get to the support.
Jasmine, I'm sorry. Like I'm real distracted by some bumper going on out.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Yeah, something like a phone vibrating
or an alarm or something.
Yeah, does somebody have their phone near there?
No. Okay, stop.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I heard it too. I was like, I thought it was something else.
I want to keep talking because I don't want that to.
Like, what is happening?
To be like, stop letting her talk. Yeah, I think that's the just the one I want to say is like to always remain curious, like how someone else lived or presents has no bearing on who you are. And if you notice this little weirdness in your chest, or you feel hot, or you feel like you have a headache, or you have these physical responses to what someone is saying, that's your ego trying to protect you. And that's not a negative thing, but it's just paying attention to it and saying, why do I feel the need to respond this way versus responding that way? Does that make sense? Like, that's what I've had to learn, because I grew up a very impatient child. I wanted to get all of what I wanted to get to. And so as I get older in age, I'm like, okay, let me take a minute and be critical, like, oh, Vic heard me this way. Like, actually, that's not what I wanted to say. And he did the same. So definitely be curious. Go learn your history, because you'll be surprised why things exist, and then you ain't got to work. You ain't even got to wonder. So.
I want to say thank you for having me. It was a pleasure having a conversation with you all. I'm just learning more to take things in positive intent, because you have to do that in order to hear someone's perspective. Everybody is not like you, whether they look like you. Identical twins are not the same. So who are we to say we came from the same backgrounds and different things, or from the same ones? We just have to learn how to respect each other. And this conversation was full of respect. So if people don't get anything else from this, they can get the respect. I didn't see any microaggression signs, anyone cutting each other off, even though I cut off sometimes just because my memory is short. It's not to be disrespectful. So remember that. If you converse with me, I'll have the bird brain. It comes and it goes, and it comes back. It comes back weeks later that I remember, like, let me tell JT what I thought, because that was last year, but I remember now. But I really appreciate conversations like this, because it brings some type of meaning. And I agree with you all. Be who you are, but be open to learning new things. There should not be a day that you do not learn something new, if not someone's perspective of something. You should be learning something every day.
Agreed. So, family, hear my heart as we close out tonight. What we don't talk about, we will repeat. What we don't heal from, we will hand down. But what we confront with courage, we transform. Tonight wasn't about blame. It was about awareness. It was about accountability. It was about alignment. We are capable of more love, more grace, and more unity than we've ever been taught to believe.
Amen.
We are not broken beyond repair. We are simply unpracticed in collective healing. The ruptures between us are real, but so is our ability to rise above them and get back to our roots. Connection is a skill. Healing is a practice. Unity is a choice. And the real revolution begins within, one healed heart at a time. So every step we take toward understanding is a step away from division. We cannot rewrite the past, but we can definitely redesign the future. So let's commit to building something better together. And I want to say thank you all for walking this journey with us tonight. That is a wrap. You can follow Jasmine, Fig, Patricia, and JT on LinkedIn. You can find them all on LinkedIn. I am connected to every last one of them. And if you're connected to me, you can get connected to them. So make sure you connect. Again, this is about community and about unity. And that's the wrap, y'all. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. There will be episodes 2, 3, 4, 5. How many we need to do until we continue to have this conversation. So thank you for engaging and listening. I don't believe y'all thought you were going to be on a continuous podcast, but we're going to be podcasting in 26.
I'm fine with it.
All right. So to keep those conversations going and to know when we go live, please subscribe to the channels. Those are going to come up here shortly, and turn on notifications so you know when we go live. In addition, please leave your comments. We'd love to hear them. We'll answer them. Even if it's the recording, leave your comments. As I always say with Sensei Speaks, protect your peace, honor your purpose, and speak your truth. And with that, that's a wrap, and we will catch you next time.